just finally, I would suspect that this would, since it does pertain to, in my mind, it pertains to the future of BK's Road. This would seem to me to be some fees that could be paid for by RCDC, which might be appropriate on that. But I want to start with the council, see if we even want to consider going along that path or not.
Great.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. And without commenting on items not on the agenda, I will say that we'll have a little bit, we'll shoehorn a little bit of an update and under agenda item number 13 later this evening. So thank you. With that, anyone else wishing to testify on items not on the agenda? Sure, come on up.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Ramal Javero. I am a public information officer with the U.S. Small Business Administration Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. I'm here today to share about the disaster loan programs that are available for the citizens and residents in the Travis, Williamson, Burnett, and surrounding counties. I apologize. There was a presidential declaration for the severe storms and flooding that happened July 2nd through the 18th, around the 4th of July. And the Small Business Administration offers disaster assistance in the form of low-interest loans. Now, these loans are a primary source of federal assistance to help owners pay for losses not covered by insurance. And then the Small Business Administration offers these low-interest loans to businesses of all sizes, private nonprofit organizations, but also, most importantly, to homeowners and renters. Now, just for a few examples, homeowners may borrow up to $500,000, and they can use that to repair, replace, or rebuild their primary residence to pre-disaster conditions. Interest rates for those loans are as low as 2.81%. It's fixed for up to a term of 30 years. Homeowners and renters may borrow up to $100,000 to repair or replace personal property. That can include a personal vehicle, clothing, appliances, or furniture, and interest rates for those are as low as 2.56%. Now, businesses and private nonprofit organizations may borrow up to $2 million to repair or replace real estate, and also to purchase inventory or equipment that are damaged or destroyed. Now, businesses that suffered economic injury can borrow up to $2 million in working capital until normal operations resumed, and it can be used for payroll, leases, bank debt. We highly encourage anyone who was affected to submit an application, because if they're approved, they are not obligated to accept the loan. They also don't need to wait for their insurance to settle in order to apply. And for the first 12 months, payment and interest are deferred. So we highly encourage those that do. Now, the deadline to apply was September 28th, but there is a 60-day deadline to apply for a physical damage loan. It is now November 27th. And for a economic injury loan is April 6th of 2026. I'm assigned to these areas, and my goal is to share this with the community in hopes that this information gets to those that may need it most. And I'll follow up with an email, or also sba.gov/disaster is for more information. Thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you for being here. Sorry we can't talk to you about it, but well played in getting out of here quickly.
Thank you.
Can you leave us a card? Can you leave us your
I
card?
have a card, and I will follow up with an email.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, anyone else wishing to testify on items not on the agenda? Hearing none, we will move on to agenda item number 2 under presentations. Presentation and discussion on the quarterly investment report for the 4th quarter. Abel here? Hello, Abel.
Thank you, Mayor. The investments, the city currently has about $792,000 invested with Texpool, and it's been a rather stable year for the investments. In the 25-26 fiscal year, 24-25 fiscal year, the city made a little bit over $34,000 in interest with Texpool. Yield was somewhat stable throughout the whole year at roughly 4.3%, and it didn't go up or down much at all. It was rather stable. And that's about it.
I'll just say that the difference is striking, because I remember when we were at
Yeah.
what, like $30
It was, like, it dropped down to like 10 basis points.
Yeah, I remember those days.
The bank was giving us more interest on our checking account than Texville was.
Yeah. Well, enjoy it while it lasts, so.
Yes.
Thank you for the report. Any questions for Abel? All right, hearing none, we will move off of agenda item number 2, move on to agenda item number 3, presentation and discussion on the budget review for the fourth quarter. Abel?
The September financials are the last financial statement for the year. However, those numbers were not final because you will have entries being made by the auditors, making changes to the financials at year end. But it does give you a pretty good picture how the city did from a fiscal point of view for the 24-25 fiscal year. Just a couple of items that I'd like to point out. On property taxes, the city collected 98% of the levy, which is slightly above average. We normally average about 97%. And on the sales taxes, we exceeded our estimated revenue for the year. We exceeded the $700,000 that we had budgeted for the year by about $152,000. Although I have to say toward the end of summer, the sales tax collections kind of leveled off a little bit. And on water sales also, the water sales exceeded. We had budgeted 1.1 mil for the year, and we collected about close to 1.7 on water sales. Wastewater revenues, we exceeded our estimated revenues for the year by about $29,000. So wastewater revenues were somewhat static in terms of they didn't yo-yo too much. Overall, the general fund on the revenue side, we collected 97% of what we had estimated for the year on revenue. On expenditures, we only expended about 74% on the appropriations that we had budgeted for the year. Water fund, because of the water sales that I just mentioned, we exceeded our revenue by, our estimated revenue was 152% more than we had estimated. And wastewater, again, was more or less what we had budgeted, so that was, again, somewhat stable. And so all in all, I think the end result is, in the general fund anyway, that because of the activities that we had in the year, that most likely, barring any entry from the auditors, our fund balance probably went up a little bit.
Great. And remind me, Abel, some of those, if we were 150 or so over, which means we did a good job in being conservative in our revenue estimates, but some of those numbers we baked it when we were in the Q3, we were looking at Q4 and we were baking some of those numbers
Right.
in, looking to the end of the year, were we not?
Correct.
So some of that the council would have already sort of taken into account when they did their budgeting, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And like I say, on sales taxes, they had leveled off toward the end of the year. So I think overall, the council did a good job in adopting the budget that we did on the revenue side.
Okay, perfect.
Any questions?
Thank you as always.
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
That will move off agenda item number 3 and on to the consent agenda. Happy to take a motion.
I would move approval of items 4, 5, and 6 on the consent agenda, and I have a comment on item number 7.
Item number 7 is removed from the consent agenda. You have a motion to adopt items 4, 5, and 6. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Ms. Brown, a second by Ms. Hudson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 4 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you, council. Moving on to agenda item number 7. Acceptance of the final meeting minutes and final report for the Comprehensive Residential Code Review Committee, CRCRC, as we finally refer to it. Recognize Ms. Brown.
overview of the report. My issue goes to the paragraph on page 5 at the bottom dealing with lighting.
Happy to,
Okay,
well,
I haven't seen a new copy. Okay.
why don't you
So,
lay out your issue, and then I'll call Mr. Bench to the
certainly.
dais.
Would suggest that the last two sentences of the draft on lighting be stricken. And this said, in lieu thereof, at its March 19, 2025 meeting, the City Council approved the CRCRC lighting proposal for residential exterior lighting requirements. And at its April 2025 meeting, the council approved a residential lighting manual containing graphical material illustrating approved lighting fixtures.
Okay, thank you, and hold that thought. I think I have an update. Do I have an update?
I'm happy to read it out. So
Okay.
we did receive a revised version from Mr. Bench just after about lunchtime today. So the revised version of the lighting section says, which is online for everybody as well, the CRCRC considered adopting dark sky standards, but instead proposed an ordinance based on Rollingwood's commercial corridor lighting ordinance to restrict light trespass. At its March 2025 meeting, the City Council approved the CRCRC residential exterior lighting proposal, and at its April 2025 meeting, the Council approved a residential lighting manual containing graphical material illustrating the approved lighting fixtures.
I'm good with that.
Okay, and is that what's reflected in the packet?
Yes, sir, that is reflected in the packet currently for anybody looking online. It was updated about 12:30 this afternoon by the City Secretary.
Okay, so happy to take a motion for the version that is reflected in the packet this evening.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the final report of the Comprehensive Residential Code Review Committee as contained in the council's packet, and that we commend the Comprehensive Residential Code Review Committee and its chair, Dave Bench, for their excellent work.
And does that include the adoption of the minutes as well?
And that we adopt
The final minutes?
the final minutes of the CRCRC committee.
You have a motion by Ms. Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Ms. Brown, a second by Ms. Hudson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 4 ayes, no nays, motion carries, and commendation follows. You are commended. Thank you.
Was it?
By official action. You were commended by official action of this council. So.
Oh, my goodness.
All right. Okay, we're moving on to the regular agenda. Discussion, agenda item number 8, discussion and possible action on an ordinance amending Chapter 107, Section 107-3, and adding Section 107-85 of the Rollingwood Code of Ordinances related to playhouses and playscapes. I will ask Nikki to come up if you would. I'm sorry. Am I surprising you? Walk slowly and you can collect your thoughts. Just a quick recap, or if you want to.
And I think it's more that it was left in the hands of some council members, and I think Nikki has the honor of introducing that, perhaps.
I will
You keep it
introduce
short and then
Absolutely.
keep it back. Yeah.
So the Playhouses and Playscapes has been before y'all. It has gone through public hearing, through the Planning and Zoning Commission, was recommended for y'all's approval. In the last council meeting, it did hold its public hearing for council, and it was voted by y'all to take that back, and Ms. Brown and Ms. Hudson were going to work on it and come up with some additional language for it. And I believe Councilmember Brown, you did do that, most of that
Yes.
on there. And so I would like to pass it on to you if you'd like to discuss your language.
Thank you. I have conferred with Councilmember Hudson regarding this language, and I know that she has some comments she would like to make. And bottom line here is, I think we need further work on this proposal after some discussion here tonight. So that's an overview. Ms. Hudson to lead that discussion.
Okay, recognize Ms. Hudson.
Okay, Brooke and I had trouble getting together.
If you would just kind of move the microphone to you a little bit. There you go.
Okay, sorry. Brooke and I had trouble coordinating, so she had done some work, and then I read over what she had proposed. And my thought on reading that is that we still have a wide view based on what was discussed last month. And what's been proposed this month, they're still very far apart. And I think that it would be helpful for us to go back and kind of, instead of worry about ordinance wording right now, is to figure out kind of basic this is not the best way to phrase it, but what problem we're trying to solve. Like what issue we're trying to address. And then we can figure out how best to address that. Because I think I don't know if we've lost sight of it, if we've got, we don't have a consensus on what we're trying to fix yet. And so I think we need to work on that kind of stepwise, and then once we figure out what things we're trying to fix, then we can come up with the proper wording or changes to our code. My first question is, what problem are we trying to address? I mean, the issue came up with a playscape that was constructed that code enforcement said was not up to code. There is
Playhouse.
No,
It was actually,
Playscape.
you said Playscape.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yes.
Playhouse.
We're listening.
There was, you what?
We're listening. That's
Good, thank you.
proof we're listening.
There is enough confusion or inconsistency or wiggle room, if you want, in the code for it to be interpreted multiple ways. And so the issue that started all of this was that we needed to clarify what the actual requirements were. And there was interest by some people in the neighborhood to reduce the restrictions on playhouses. And so that's kind of where we started working. I think the problem is that we have not come to an agreement on what is appropriate in that area. So, do we want to exempt playhouses and/or playscapes from the accessory building requirements and/or from permitting requirements?
Yes.
I would say so, but it is, we have to define the difference between, clearly define the difference between an accessory building and a playhouse and/or playscape, but probably playhouse, in order to say yes to that. Otherwise, there is the opportunity to call something a playhouse and it's really an accessory building.
Well,
So, I mean, we
or
have to
just
define the
everybody's
parameters.
definition of a playhouse is different.
Understood,
know,
and
and
that's
so-
why we
right.
need to set out, in my opinion, we need to set forth the parameters of this no longer qualifies as a playhouse, this now is an accessory building. And then we'll require permitting.
Right.
Like a play castle.
So, you know,
I looked at a lot of different city ordinances. Most cities have, have an ordinance that defines the difference between a playhouse and what requires a permit. Some say a playhouse, they define a playhouse and say it's not an accessory building. Some say they're all accessory buildings, but a permit's not required for these playhouses and playscapes, which I think is probably the better legal way to proceed with it. Therefore, because you don't leave a gap. In other words, everything's an accessory building except what's exempted. Then there's also some who say, well, there's still an accessory building, but no permit is required. So there's several different ways to address it. What I found was that there's no, all cities, almost every city I looked at dealt with this in some way or another. So it's a common problem. And there are a variety of ways to deal with it. And I think the issue we have to decide is what is insignificant enough in terms of impact to allow it to proceed without a permit. And in my view, what I wrote down today was number of playhouses, playscapes on a lot, height, location, the footprint of the playhouse or playscape, and some consideration that it be temporary, meaning not have a poured foundation or other indicia of permanence. So I think what we don't have is, we haven't had a lot of discussion at the council level about those terms, whether height is, do you want it not above the fence? That would be 8 feet. Do you want it within a setback, not within a setback? What kind of square footage? How many? So those are the kinds of things I think we need put some parameters around. We know what the planning and zoning recommended, although there's some, I was never very clear about the square footage and how that would work with respect to square footage within a setback or not within a setback. So I think those are the issues. And maybe we just need to talk about each one a little bit here and come back with something next month.
I think that's a good idea, and I appreciate all the effort you put into researching ordinances and the thought you put into all the criteria, because I agree with Ms. Hudson that, we want to make it clear for both our building officials and the public that playhouses and playscapes are not subject to all the code. And so we're going to exclude them from the code somehow, but then as to Mr. McDuffie's point, what do we do to make sure that that isn't so vague that it creates a giant loophole? Now,
Right.
I'm less concerned about creating a giant loophole. I'd be comfortable with just saying playscapes and playhouses are not subject to the code, but I understand your insight as to that you had about, it is an accessory building, but it doesn't have to be permitted. But if it's an accessory building, then it's subject to all the limitations on accessory buildings, which means it can't be in any side yards.
Can't be in any yards.
In any, well, that's right, it can't be in any yards. And so you can't have it within, that means, 30 feet from the back fence and 10 or 15 feet from the side fence or sidelines? And so those, do we want to enforce those setback requirements on playhouses and playscapes? I personally don't really want to. I don't think they ought to be in the front yard, but, would I be offended if I saw one in the front yard? No, I'd be sort of amused. It'd be okay with me. I wouldn't personally mind, but I could see why we might want to say you don't put them in the front yard. But otherwise, I think the definitions you've got in here are reasonable, but I'm not sure they're necessary. I think if we just said it doesn't apply to playhouses and playscapes, but you can't put them in the front yard, I'd be okay with that, because it goes to that question that you started with, is what problem are we trying to solve? And, it's not like we've got a big problem with a bunch of playhouses and playscapes. Some people don't like the idea that there's one right next to a fence, and that means should it be subject to the setbacks? And that's a reasonable debate and a reasonable policy question that has to be discussed and decided. I'm in favor of being more lenient on that and not trying to regulate it, but I understand why somebody might say they shouldn't be, a foot from the fence. So that's where I'm at.
Well, right now, we don't have definitions for playscapes and playhouses in our code. And so Playscape is not even listed under accessory building, and it's not really a building, but Playhouse is listed there. And so we definitely need to have a definition so that we can know this is a playhouse as opposed to an office or a shed or a building or a whatever, right? If we're gonna exempt it, we have to know what it is we're exempting. And so, and I don't have a problem with allowing a playhouse in the required yard because that's where the kids play, in the yard. So I don't have a problem with that, with limitations.
When you're saying required yard, what are we talking about setbacks, or are we,
Same thing, yeah.
okay.
But in our code, it's called
It's
the
called
required yard.
yards,
Yeah.
not
Okay.
the setback.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So, but within limitations. And if we're going to exempt them from the accessory building requirements and from permitting requirements, it has to be, in my mind, it has to be less intrusive than an accessory building. So it has to be smaller, it has to have less visual impact on the surrounding neighbors, it has to not cause a problem with drainage. You know, all those things need to be addressed. If we just go down parameters that we set for exemption, right now the proposal has 12 feet height. I think that's too tall. I mean, a playhouse doesn't need to be 12 feet. The kids playing in it are gonna be 4 feet tall, you know? I mean, you don't need it to be 12 feet. We have just changed our fencing requirements for not needing a permit to go up to 8 feet. So to me, if you are going to exempt this from permitting and to keep it from being intrusive to the neighbors, you say that the playhouse has to be less than 8 feet. You know, that's way it's lower than the fence, or at or below the height of the fence. The area, 100 square feet, that's, like I said last time, that's bigger than Nikki's office, you know? It's the size of my kids' bedrooms at home, right, when they were growing up. A playhouse doesn't need to be that big either, and so, a smaller footprint, because it also impacts drainage and recharge, because that's more impervious cover in the yard. And so I think that needs to be a limitation. And I also want to have it, if we're going to allow it in the required yard, in the setbacks, we need to have a distance from the fence line so that runoff from the roofs not going over into the neighbors. If it's lower than the fence, that prevents it from maybe going over the fence, but you also have runoff can go under the fence. So you just need to make sure that you're not causing any drainage problems. So giving some distance between the fence and the building would be helpful. We need to address the utility issue if we're going to allow or disallow utilities. And the temporary, to me, our definition of temporary just means it doesn't have a permanent foundation. I don't know if temporary is the right wording, or if it's portable, that the unit has to be portable instead of temporary, because you can put up a playhouse that can stay there for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it could be pier and beam-ish, cinder blocks and.
I can't hear you, Phil.
It could be pier and beam or cinder blocks and beams and still be,
So I don't really want to get into defining playhouse and playscape too much, other than playhouse, does have in the definition that Ms. Brown has proposed, says shall be, a toy for children's activities not supplied by utilities. And I'm good with that definition. And, you know, the United States Supreme Court famously doesn't have a clear definition of obscenity. And as one of the justices famously said, I know it when I see it. And, you know, I think that we can also expect there to be some common sense in the application of the code that I trust that Nikki would know a playhouse when she sees one, and, you know, versus a granny flat or something else. So, I mean, really, principally, if it doesn't have utilities, it might end up being, maybe somebody could call it a playhouse, but it's really a utility shed, or maybe an artist studio. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of a she shed, but with no utilities, right?
Well, yeah.
You know,
Most of those, I think, would have utilities.
right. So I'm
yeah.
trying to think of what somebody would do if we said it doesn't have utilities, it's a playhouse. You know, if it's really a playhouse and doesn't have utilities, okay? But, you know, what would somebody build that they would try to pass off as a playhouse, you know, if we didn't define it more carefully? I guess I'm trying to think of what's the
There's
problem.
nothing that has to pass off, and Nikki's not gonna look at it if they don't have to get a permit. They can just put it up.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
So
And
that's,
we do have some structures that are in a gray area.
Marginal.
Well, there's.
Without naming
there-
names.
Without naming names, I know of one playhouse that's on stilts behind the house at the level of the second level on a sloping lot. But I think the walls look about 5 or 6 feet tall as opposed to 8 or 10 feet. And it's maybe 6 feet wide and or maybe 8 feet square, but it's on a second level on stilts. And I don't think we want an unpermitted structure that like that. You know, the opposite side of defining this is we're defining what doesn't need a permit, but you can still propose a different kind of structure that would require a permit. You just have to get the permit and make sure
Okay.
everything's safe and okay. And
So you say it doesn't require a permit if it's no taller than this or no this, but if you want to
Exactly.
build something grander than the scheme allows, you
Come see
can
Nikki.
file for a
Come see
permit.
Nikki.
Try to get it approved.
Right.
well, then it's an accessory building.
Yeah.
It-
Then
it
it's an
meets-
accessory
meets
building.
the requirements of accessory building.
You know, and it's, and I think that, you know, that's the way most cities cut this issue.
Okay.
So, it doesn't prevent it, it just says if you're gonna put a more permanent type structure or a larger structure, or you've gotta come get a permit, so.
So the number of playhouses you mentioned, I'm going through your list because I made notes of your issues, that which was helpful. The number, I mean, I don't know that we have to regulate the number of them. How many playhouses is somebody going to build, right?
Yeah.
I just don't think that's going to be a problem. Height, I think you've got a good point about that we should put a height and it should maybe correspond to what we allow for fences.
That
And
would be
what is fence?
8 feet.
Fence
8
without a
feet?
Agree.
permit is 8 feet.
So you can go up to 8 feet without a permit. And you want to go higher than that for your fancy play castle, you got to get a permit, right?
Yeah. You wanna
And-
play that's a good way, play castle, you have to get a permit.
Right. And location, I'm okay with letting them be in the side yards or the backyards, required yards, which are setbacks. And you mentioned not wanting them to be right on the line, so what, 5 feet off, 5 feet from the property line
I think 6 feet is what
is what
we had
P and Z
in there
recommended?
before, yeah.
So 6 feet,
I think that's reasonable.
and then footprint,
John, Dave was getting ready to say
I'm
something.
sorry.
If you're gonna weigh in, come to,
Yes,
yes.
please. We wish you jumped in sooner.
Thank you, Dave Bench, 1 Randolph. I had not planned to speak this evening, so I'm kind of extemporaneous here. But everything that I'm hearing being discussed this evening, P&Z has discussed over 2 meetings. And recommendations were made largely that cover some of the issues that are being discussed this evening. And I would invite you, urge you, to go back and look what the P and Z recommendations were and see what of them you don't like and change those. But I think we thought it out. I can promise you, we had plenty of discussion around this. And our intention was to provide the freedom for homeowners to do what they wanted to do for their kids without causing a problem for the neighbors. We were fairly specific in how much of a playhouse or playscape could encroach into the required yards, what the size was, how tall it could be, what the conditions were around all this. Honestly, I don't understand why all this discussion's going on, because I think we already had it. So that's my comment. I wish you would go back. If there was something that needed to be done by P and Z to fix what was being recommended, great. Let us know. We'll go back there, take another look at it. But I don't know. I think we gave it a lot of time, and I thought what we came up with was fairly reasonable for what the people in Roywood would want.
But that's not in our packet right now, is it?
No,
Yeah,
it's in but it is in last.
Yeah, and
Okay.
our apologies for that. We should have kept the original P and Z,
Yeah.
and we next month we'll put
Yeah.
the original
It
in.
is in last month's.
Okay.
Okay. And unfortunately, I wish we had the minutes for the last P and Z meeting, because I'm sure there'd be a lot more verbiage around that. All we have right now is the codified version of what we discussed.
Okay.
But I'm sure whenever the minutes come out, it'll bring a lot more clarity to it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, council. Good discussion. I'm not hearing any action.
Well, I think we need to hear if Councilmember Glasheen wanted to work through the other issues, and if Councilmember McDuffie wanted to.
I'm happy to keep doing that, and I think that would be helpful. I can open up the P and Z recommendation. I'm doing that right now on last council agenda, and I think it'd be good to do as Dave Bench suggested and go look at that again too. But I think we can come to some consensus on all these parameters and definitions going. I think it is a good place to start with the P and Z recommendation. So I'm just trying to find that.
So I guess my question: is the plan tonight to write this on the dais? Which, if that's the
Well,
No,
the
not
plan.
tonight, it's just to come to an agreement
On
on
the
Well,
what
Points.
okay, fair.
criteria we are willing to exempt from permitting.
Okay, then carry on.
So,
I mean, has everyone had a chance to look at the P and Z recommendations again and have them fresh in their mind to be able to discuss them, or do we want to
I mean,
bump
you
it to
discussed them
next?
for about an hour last month, but
Sorry.
no, it's fine. But I
Right.
mean, that's what got us to this month. So, but we'll do it again if we need to. So,
Sounds like somebody didn't want to do it this month.
The way
I would prefer to
Yes.
bump it to next month
Alright.
so that I could digest it.
I think I
and
just heard a
look at-
motion to bump it to next month.
Well, I think we'll be in the same place we are today.
highly
We
likely.
would, but
If
we
we
would
don't
have the time
study
to
a little
look at it and
more
digest
and
it
come back.
more.
Okay.
To go back to
Rather
the P and
than-
Z, because I would have read the P and Z recommendations again, and,
Yeah, I would.
The-
I mean,
And
this-
I'll just make one comment if that's what we want to do. When I look at the P and Z proposal, it says the total area of the playhouse shall not encroach more than shall not encroach 100 square feet into a required rear yard. That would mean you could put it up against the fence. You know, so it's, I don't understand how to apply that criteria and not encroach 50 square feet in a required side yard. So if you could, that would not restrict it from being up against the fence
well,
or
it
up
does say-
against the property
It
line.
does say that the playhouse has to be at least 6 feet from any property line.
I see that, but I don't understand the relation between that and the paragraph above it where you could encroach so long as it's not more than 100 feet. So I see
Well,
those as,
I think that's, it,
I see those as inconsistent.
well, I
as
think
they're
that
drafted.
encroachment is in this setback, whereas you could have part of it in the buildable area.
I understand that,
And then,
but I don't see it as a restriction in the, uh, in the,
in the surface area, right,
no.
in the
I-
total surface area.
It seems to me that you've got to be 6 feet from the property line under 3, but does 2 supersede 3, or does 3 supersede 2?
Neither one.
They have to be,
Yeah.
you have to
They're
meet
both.
both requirements. Mr. Bench.
Yeah,
You could have a huge, there's no
that's
total
right.
size limit on a
That-
playhouse.
Right.
There's just how much of it can be in a side yard.
That is correct, and that was our intention. That if you wanted to sacrifice as much of your buildable area into a playhouse, that was your business. There's already, I think, an accessory buildings limit of, what, 250 square feet, something of that
It's
nature?
500 square feet.
Is it 500? Okay, well then a playhouse could be as big as 500 square feet, I guess.
Without a permit.
Okay. It's a temporary structure, regardless.
500 square foot building
Is
is a
that right?
temporary
Are you
structure.
sure about that? The 500, that doesn't sound right, but
For
okay.
a garage can be an
Okay,
accessory
yeah,
building, yes.
well,
Right.
Anyway, our intention was to allow latitude in that regard, that if you were using the buildable area, that you were only talking about how much could encroach out into the required yard. And whatever you wanted to put into the buildable area was your business. Presumably,
But-
with the way houses are being built these days, you're not gonna put that much
But they
playhouse into a
amended-
buildable area.
You guys amended this, it says here at the June 4th meeting on Fleming's motion to restrict it to 100 square feet.
It's 100 square feet into the.
Oh, into the rear yard, okay.
Into the,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
into the required yard, yeah. So it's 100 square feet in the required rear yard, 50 square feet in the required side
Well,
yard.
do we have an attorney prepared to draft
Yeah.
of the P and Z recommendations?
Yeah.
We do?
We can do that, yes.
I mean, we don't have one yet, though.
Did we?
Okay, well, I make a
No.
motion
Well,
that
we already did.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
already-
that's what
yeah,
I'm
that
looking
was
at,
in-
that's what I'm
that
looking
was
at,
in last-
Councilman.
That was,
Yeah.
From
yes,
last
that's the one
month.
that we will,
The reason we're here is because we had issues with what was proposed.
Yes.
Well,
And we were not willing to approve that.
in our defense, whenever something is codified and then comes to you, that comes without our having had an opportunity to look at it.
Mhm.
So it came to you after we had had our meeting and was codified, and then you see it as a codified version.
It's
So-
not codified till it's adopted, so
But
it's
it's
Well,
in
draft.
excuse me,
Yes.
Ju-
In
the
ordinance.
well, I'm stumbling on legalese here, it's
Okay.
true, so.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to punt.
you have a motion
Look,
to punt.
If you've got, look, if you look at what we had recommended and you don't like it, and you want to change something, you can boot it back to us and say, well, we didn't like this part, or we didn't like that part. You know, if we need more specificity around, you know, what is allowed in the buildable area,
Take the draft and go talk about it. until
but,
it's-
well, we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, right now, I'm hearing a lot of the same conversation we had in P and Z, and I'm not getting a sense for, well, what's wrong with it or what's right with it. It's just discomfort. And,
I can tell you what my issues
I
were.
want to know.
well, that would be great.
But I don't know that we need to go over all that again. But, I mean, it was a height issue and
Okay.
a size issue.
Well-
There was no limitation on how much
Well, what-
surface area you could cover
Okay.
if it's less than 6 feet, or 6 feet tall or smaller, and that's a drainage issue.
Well, what works for you? What would you like?
So I don't know that we, to Gavin's point, I don't know that we want to,
I'll do it however y'all want to do
100
it.
square feet, 10 by 10.
plywood's 8 by 4 by 8, right? So makes more sense to me to do it.
We started with
That way,
120 square feet, okay? And then we actually ratcheted it down after a
No,
lot of
it's not that
discussion,
big. I
okay?
built one 10
So-
by 10 in my backyard when I
Yeah.
was a kid. It might have been 12 by 12.
So size and height is your main issue.
Well, and location, yeah, placement.
I'm
in
okay with
in
y'all's location
in the-
criteria.
Again, we are talking about, with the required yard, it is really kind of a funny situation. And that's why we would recommend that these aren't even be considered, auxiliary buildings. But the side yard is there for the enjoyment of the people who are living there, and that includes the kids. And if you're going to overly restrict, and that's my sense on it, overly restrict what you're allowed to do as far as playscapes and playhouses, well, that's probably not right for the neighborhood. And we are trying to put some sideboards on it so it isn't overdone. But if you feel that our sideboards aren't enough, well, we can listen to that and we can make a change.
So, Sarah, drill in a little bit more on the location. So size and height, that's straightforward. Location, what is the concern on location?
Proximity to neighbors.
6 foot is what they propose. Are you okay with that, or you want more?
6 foot from the property line.
Yeah, from the property line. And not in the front yard. Side or backyard is okay. 6 foot from the property line is what they propose. I'm okay with that. Can you live with it?
I think I can live with that. Yep.
I can live with it, but I can't live with the 12 feet above grade at 6 feet from the property
No,
line.
it should be.
But that would be covered by height.
Height
8
should
feet, yeah.
be,
Maximum of 8 feet.
you got it at 12?
Yeah, we have it at 12.
I would say 10 as a compromise. No? 8? Okay, fine. It's the fence height.
I tell you what I'm gonna do, if it's okay with you. We'll submit this to council. We'll have them go off of Councilwoman Brown's draft that you have this evening. We will put in next month this draft. We will put in the original P and Z draft, and then we will bring you a new draft that's been drafted by council. And I'm gonna have him put blanks for the size, blank for the height, and a blank for the, well, if y'all are all in agreement on the 6 foot property line, we'll do that. And then you can, I'll let you fill in these blanks next month by vote. And then I think you'll have something you can vote on. Is that okay?
One other question here. No, that's okay.
If you think of it, let us know.
Okay.
What I would like to do is bring you blanks to fill in so that you've got a document that is 85% there, and then you can fill in those blanks and be done. If that works.
To be clear, P and Z has no role in any of this.
Correct.
Okay.
But we will have your P and Z. You've done good due diligence. We'll put that draft that came out of your deliberations so that they can use that for their deliberations
Very good.
and filling in these blanks.
Very good. Okay. Please, call on me if I can help in any way.
P and Z
Thank you.
minutes as well as Mr. Bench suggested, that there was a lot of discussion. It might be useful.
Yeah, we'll look at the minutes and see.
Okay.
I don't.
If you think that's
I've been trying to get away from minutes being.
repeated.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I can go look.
But yeah,
at the
we'll
minutes.
see what I haven't looked at those minutes, but yeah, we'll include the minutes too. Let's include the minutes. Okay. You good on that? Okay, with that we will move off of agenda item number 8 and move on to agenda item number 9. Discussion and possible action on authorizing the purchase of 1 new half-ton pickup truck and 1 new 3/4-ton pickup truck for use of the Public Works Department. And I'll ask Izzy to come forward and tell us about his great work in saving the city some money.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well, let me open this by saying this is something council has already budgeted for in the previously adopted budget, so you're good to go in that regard. And with that, Izzy, tell us what we won.
Hello, City Council. Like the mayor said, we were approved for 2 fleet vehicles in this current budget. And those quotes were actually obtained by a buy board we're a co-op member, but we had not a really good experience with them. We ordered vehicles, and we ordered a vehicle and waited about 10 months for delivery on that vehicle. With that being said, we shopped around locally, and we were able to give quotes on 2 vehicles from it's a non-buy board source, but the quotes came in substantially lower than what they came in initially from buy board.
Good work.
And I'd like to point out, we're going local. This is Covert.
Covert
which
over in BK.
We have neighbors in the hood that are Covert, so I'm always happy to go local and go extremely local in the neighborhood.
And they're in stock. The vehicles are in stock. There's 2 possibilities, or 2 options for the 3/4 ton, and it's already almost all fitted already. Already has the toolboxes that we need. All we're missing on it is just some lights and a winch and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Izzy? If not, be happy to take a motion so he can get it before somebody steals it from us.
Motion for a new truck.
2 trucks.
2 trucks.
You have a motion to approve the purchase of 1 new half-ton truck and 1 3/4-ton truck for use by the Public Works Department. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Mr. Glasheen, a second by Mr. McDuffie.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Well, hold on, I gotta wait. He left.
We've got
You made the
Might
motion.
take too
didn't
much
you?
jeopardy.
You might not get them, Izzy.
Tell us more about these trucks.
They're GMCs.
Are they white?
They're white. Yes, they're white.
Okay. Are
They have 4
gray?
wheels, 4-wheel drive.
But I think, yeah, the important parts are it's much more local. I think the other ones are across town, like in deep East Texas somewhere. And then these are in stock.
And they're in stock.
The pickup truck the Public Works Department just took possession of a couple of weeks ago was ordered before I started working in Rollingwood.
It was
That's how
ordered-
long we had to wait on that other
Back in
vendor. This is
January?
local. It's on the lot. It's outfitted. 99% what he needs.
Awesome. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. Being 4 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council.
All right, with that, we will move on to agenda item number 10, discussion and possible action regarding vegetation maintenance on corners and site distances. This is Phil's agenda item, but I'll first recognize, well, however you want to do it. Alan does have an update. Happy to recognize you, Phil. As
I
your-
would
as
like
your
to
agenda.
hear Alan's update.
There we
because
go.
I've seen a lot of updates.
Okay.
So
with
I have an
that-
update, and obviously Chief Munoz is ready for an update as well. And this item, as you know, has appeared on council agendas. It seems like every growing season, it pops up. So it's something that this year, I think it was quite clear from the last council meeting that something needed to happen a bit differently. So after following the council meeting there were several intersections that were identified by Lieutenant Cantu. He rode around with his training officer, Mike Hae, and they identified 4 locations within the city that were in clear violation of the code. Each of them were issued warnings by the Public Works Department and given 2 weeks to rectify the issue. Of those 4, 2 of them gave it a go. One of them seems to have successfully mitigated or taken care of the problem. One of them almost got there. So out of those, our Public Works Department had to take care of 2.5. At least one of them received a citation, and the chief can speak to that. But it's something that they're on our radar. It's going to be a kind of a recurring thing where we're going to be monitoring these things, because it seems like, just anecdotally, I guess, and from my review of what we've been doing, it's always the same kind of thing. There's a couple of plants that are particularly quick, or like fast-growing plants, particularly annoying and in very dangerous locations. So I guess Chief can speak a bit more to the citation
Right,
part.
and that is correct. So, I mean, what we have done as far as the enforcement part is that we have created it to be, they do the bi-weekly code enforcement checks. So So this is put on that, so that way we are double checking these intersections every 2 weeks as well. And that's kind of where this list came from. So a citation was issued to a property that we are just constantly having reoccurring issues with. That effort sometimes is made, sometimes it's not, but I think it's at a point to where we're gonna have to address it in a different way, and that's why the citation was issued. So with that being said, is I know that this was kind of up for discussion, so I wanted to kind of see from council if there's something that we want to do or put into the ordinance to where if your property is addressed so many times that we either permanently remove the vegetation that is constantly, or how we want to go with this. If this is just something that we just want to keep mitigating and going to properties it's whatever direction you guys kind of want to take it.
Yes, ma'am.
When a citation's issued, what happens next? I guess they show up in court and either contest the citation or pay a fine?
That is correct, but in the meantime, we have already addressed the issue, so we already cut the property.
Okay.
The Public Works did, just so we can clear up the safety aspect of it, but the
All right.
citation still goes through the court, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so I guess that we'll see if that homeowner has some objection or some basis they think they can challenge the citation.
That would be my recommendation. Let's see if that, because it's a more stringent enforcement than we've done in the past, so I would give it a little time and see if that works. So,
Yeah, my main concerns with this issue are first, public safety, and then secondly, the cost to the city to repeatedly have to address situations that are pretty obvious that they continually repeat. So I agree, let's see how this plays out for a little while, but ultimately, yeah, we may have to go to something where after X number of citations and mitigation done by the city, we request removal, because all these things are in the easement, so.
In the right of way.
I will say
Right away.
the fine is relatively steep, so just from a bottom line perspective, it does tend to cover the
our
cost.
costs.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we've got better things to do, but.
I don't disagree with that.
And that's why, I mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's something that needs to be addressed, and so that's why I think addressing it and looking for it every 2 weeks and just making it part of their routine, I think will also help us stay on top of these intersections.
So I'd like to comment on such an important topic, so we can't let it pass. So really the question is, that I'm hearing you ask is, at what point do we remove it rather than just trim it? Is that kind of one of the questions?
If that's something that,
That we would
that-
even want, right?
correct, yeah. I mean,
So when would we want to remove it versus trimming it? And then what process should we go through before we do a removal? I think are the questions in my mind. So in my mind, we don't want to trim it 3 or 4 times a year for the homeowner for free, okay? And like it's the pride of Barbados plants that keep growing up on the corner. And we know that those are a problem and they need to be removed. I mean, it's pretty obvious which ones need to be removed, right? So I think my proposal would be that the ones that we know need to be removed, we need to give the homeowner notice that they need to remove them. And give them however long we want to give them to do it, and I would think 30 days is plenty, and say, you got to remove these because they're perpetually growing to block the right of way. That way, we don't have to keep dealing with it over and over and over again. And as far as whether we have the right to do that and whether it's appropriate to do it, I think it is, because we can't deal with it every 2 weeks. That's just stupid. We need to deal with it once when it comes up, and that is tell them, hey, get rid of this. If you don't do it, we're going to, and then do it, and we're going to charge you for doing it. And, you know, the other thing is that this is the right-of-way. So a lot of people don't realize that in Rollingwood, you don't own all the way to the curb. The city owns the first 10 feet of your lot. That's public right-of-way. It is not the homeowner's lot. And I know they put their "don't pee or poo" on our grass signs up, but that's not their yard. You know, haven't told any of them that yet, but I'm sure that'll make them hopping mad when they find out that it's not their yard, but it's not. And so I think we can do it, and that's how I propose we handle it. But is a matter, to me, is a matter of up to enforcement that falls under the realm of the executive branch, and however the mayor
That's kind of
and
where I was going with it.
city manager want to handle it.
Let me pull Izzy up for a minute, if I can. Izzy, and this may be an Alan question, but on the notice that we give, when we give them 2 weeks' notice,
Correct.
Can you just give us a synopsis of what does that notice say, generally? I knew I was putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I know. It generally tells them that, you know, what
What
the
the
concern
issue
is,
is,
and
good
that they have
violation. Does it
it's
give
violation.
guidance on how to rectify the situation? Does it just say
that they
trim
need
it?
to trim back,
or-
or the city will come take other measures.
I can speak to it.
Go ahead.
So the door hanger itself has our city logo. It says City of Rollingwood. Notice regarding vegetation at intersection. The City of Rollingwood is working on addressing line of sight issues at intersections throughout the city. This notice is to inform you of a violation of a city code pertaining to your property located at, and there's a space where the public works folks will write the address in. And then it quotes section 32-3 of the city's code of ordinance states, on a corner lot, no structure or vegetation with a height greater than 36 inches above curb level may be constructed, placed, planted, maintained, or allowed to grow within 15 feet of the intersection of two street rights-of-way lines or within 10 feet of the front lot line. Upon inspection, it has been observed there are vegetation elements on your property that are in violation of this regulation. In order to comply with this requirement, please rectify the issue by, there's a blank for 2 weeks from that date. Please notify us of your plans to clear vegetation that is obstructing line of sight on your property by calling us. If not cleared by the stated date, the city will begin clearing vegetation to ensure line of sight and safety. Please contact us if you have any questions. We appreciate your cooperation in clearing the vegetation on your lot that is obstructing the view from the intersection.
Okay, so just change that to, please rectify the situation by removing and replanting vegetation that grows no higher than what, 36 inches.
Just with compliant vegetation.
Yeah, and so we'll just instruct them to remove and replant with vegetation that doesn't grow above X.
And that's for repeat offenders or just for
It's for
any
everybody.
violation?
It's for everybody. Just
One and done.
one and done. So
Just
you can have green stuff there. You just can't plant something that's going to continue to grow past the.
I know the door hangers are probably gonna get longer and longer, but can we put a caveat on there somewhere saying that we're not responsible for any damages done once we,
You don't need to
Remove
say
it.
that, because
No.
legally you're not.
Yeah,
okay,
you're just not. So
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Does
sir.
it say that upon removal, you will be charged for the cost of removal?
I don't think we can do
No,
that
'cause we're-
since
Can we
it's
do that?
right away.
I'm sorry?
Since it's actually right away and doesn't belong to them, I'm not sure we can, or can we? I guess we could. We
Well,
could
we'll just ticket
say
it.
it.
Well, we don't,
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything in that hanger that mentioned a citation and a fine.
I think it
Oh,
did.
yeah, we'll issue a citation and
I
a
think
fine
it says
and
that.
remove it.
Okay, hold on.
I like
What does it
that.
say? It says
It doesn't say there's a citation and a fine, but it does say it's a violation of the city ordinance.
the door hangers like.
okay. We'll add that a citation.
May we get advice of council whether we can require that the right-of-way be cleared?
It's our property. We don't even have to give them notice.
No, I mean that we can require the homeowner to clear it.
Certainly, yes. We can, if it's coming off of their property onto ours, yes.
Okay,
we can
and then,
absolutely do that.
Well, we're not requiring them, we're just telling them they should do it, and if they don't, we're gonna do it.
Right. Well,
Because
what we have is an ordinance that prohibits them from blocking a sight line.
I'm sorry.
We have an ordinance, right, that prohibits the blocking of a sight line. So they have something on their property that has impeded upon our right-of-way and is blocking our sight line. And so we have a right to just go in there and
Here's what I'm
take it
worried
out.
about. Without a fine or other consequence, we're just, for those who don't want to take care of their yard, we're going to tell them we're taking care of it.
Right, no, don't disagree. with
That's
that.
what I'm,
But-
that's,
but
that's
we'll
why I
continue to
would
do
like
it.
to know whether we can
Yeah.
assess a charge.
Yeah, yes. If it's in the ordinance, we can do that.
We can, but I would argue that we basically are if we issue the citation.
Yep. That's it. Issue a citation and dig it up.
And if we, and I guess what I'm saying too, if we, after we do this, if we're the ones that enforce it, we're not trimming anymore, we're just removing. And so, that's a lot quicker and,
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Right.
initially, moving forward, it'll take just that much longer the first time, but once after that, then, unless they go and plant something else
right,
in there.
and if they plant something else that grows, we just pull it out again. So, so I think let us try that. We'll change this up. We can maybe tighten it up a little bit so that it
Yep.
doesn't get overly.
We did have a
Burdensome.
discussion on this years ago about trees that are there, and that trees were not a problem because if it was just the trunk
Yeah,
that was
tree's not a
above,
Yeah.
that we,
Agreed.
people didn't have to cut down their
And
own trees
and
if
we've
they were
been able to,
in there, so.
and we kind of catch that in our annual tree trimming. So I think
Correct.
that probably still holds.
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't obstruct sight distance or visibility.
It's
A
just,
tree doesn't obstruct visibility.
Right.
okay.
Pride of Barbados does.
Thank you, Izzy. Thank you, Chief.
The yellow rain.
Thank y'all for both.
There's several plants.
Yes, clarification from council. This is only pertaining to vegetation that is on our right-of-way. This is not,
Right.
yes,
Whole yard.
this is not a taking situation. So. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Okay, hearing no other further action, we will move on to agenda item number 11, discussion and possible action on park improvements, parking lot improvements, and sprinkler system project at Rolling Wood Park. Recognize Mr. Glasheen for his agenda item.
And really, I wanted to put this on for discussion item and to update everybody and get updates from, fortunately, the chair of our park commission, Melissa Mora, is here, thankfully, and can speak to these things.
Melissa Mora, 2502 Timberline Drive, and the Parks Commission Chair. We are the landscape architect that we hired to do a design of the parking lot area and the trees and landscaping for the entrance as well. Has begun, and we're going to meet with him. He's sort of like halfway through next week. One of the ideas that we had was to have a committee that would include at least one council member, somebody from RCDC, and then several Parks Commission members and a community member who I think is Alex.
Robinette.
Thank you, Robinette. And so if one of y'all want to meet us next Wednesday, I think at 9:30, we'll be in the park walking it. And then as far as the sprinkler system goes, the Parks Commission, which I know it didn't make it, or it may not have made it into your packet, but the Parks Commission did support the getting, I think it was $14,500 for a land, for design documents that would include a soil sample and how we would redo the turf on it's really 5 fields, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and replacing the entire irrigation system for the upper park. Originally, there was some thought that we could use the old one, but honestly, it is end of life. It really needs to get a new one, even if we do it in phases where we do, the field first and then the outside part where we're going to put in that new landscaping and trees. And, so the Parks Commission was unanimous in supporting that, getting at least a plan so we could find out how much it would cost to actually put in the system and how much turf replacement for all 3 fields. We also talked about possibly doing the irrigation as one and then phasing in when we do the turf replacement.
Awesome.
That's it.
Doing the irrigation system as one, one what?
Just doing, the systems, we want to put in a large enough system that it would service the whole upper park. So instead of
The
having
fields and everything
the
else?
fields and everything else, and because you can put them on different
Zones.
thank you zones, we don't need to have 2 different systems. schedule it so that, for instance, zone 1 is getting 5 days a week and another one's only getting 2 days a week in a certain time.
It's really just one system, but like 2 controllers only adds like a couple $100 of expense. And one of the reasons to do that is like they want to have one controller that just lets like the softball people wet the field, that only controls that one zone so that they don't mess up the rest of the system. And having the turf on a separate system than the rest of the field, just the rest of the park really helps, I think, with programming, because a lot of the problems we've had are the complexity of programming, and that programming is Phil and Izzy and I can all attest, and Johnny could tell you every time you go to those controllers, somebody's changed the programming on them almost all the time. It's crazy. And even we've put locks on them. But I just think, having separate controllers or not, or versus just separate zones, it's going to be on separate zones anyway. Separate controllers is a small fractional expense, but I'm glad you guys talked about the sprinkler system, expanding it to the whole upper park, because that doesn't add much cost, because that whole $225,000 cost estimate, only $25,000 was for the sprinkler system in the upper park. So even if you double that, it's only another $25,000. The whole project only goes up to about $250,000. And it is on the RCDC agenda for Monday, and I understand you're going to be there to talk to them about it on Monday, and I'm going to go as well to see if they're supportive of it. But by then we'll have a revised proposal from the landscape architect and scope of work that includes the upper park, and I think we might as well go ahead and give them a proposal to design the lower park too, a sprinkler system, because I still think it's a small marginal cost. And I just suggest that, and we can always, as you said, then once we get that stuff back and get some price on it, you can decide whether to do it all at once or not. So I appreciate y'all taking the time and the effort to look at it and supporting it. I think it's a good project.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
When I looked at this, and I looked at also at the project that's in the RCDC packet, it talks about there being a separate system for the fields from the rest of the park. And so I was thinking that what you were proposing was an irrigation system just for the fields.
I mean, that's all been up to for discussion, and the consensus from Park Commission is, let's have a system for the fields for sure, but then let's do the whole upper park.
Do the rest of
And
it, have them
then
design it.
and then I'm saying do the entire park, because I don't think it's a very much of an increase in cost. I think it's only a 10% increase in cost on the total project to do the whole park instead of just the fields.
Okay, so the proposals that are in the city council packet,
They're not really up for vote on that format yet. This is just discussion tonight. These are evolving as we get input from different groups, like the Park Commission. We're going to amend it as per the Park Commission's kind of input, and then we'll present it to RCDC and see what they say, and then we'll come back to council for approval of something.
Yeah, and this proposal
it didn't sound, I'm just confused between what I'm hearing tonight and what's in the
Yeah, and
proposal.
this is the one that you also had last month
Yeah.
that hasn't been revised, so.
Because the Park Commission just heard it Monday,
Yeah.
and we haven't,
Okay.
we
Gotten
haven't
the new-
updated it based on their feedback.
Originally, and just to your point, originally the thought was we could just use the old system for the outer ring and we'd get a new one for the field. But if we're putting in a new system, why keep
Yeah.
around a 40-year-old system that you wouldn't be able to schedule that on your phone and you couldn't.
Right.
So I think after talking to Izzy and walking the whole thing, we felt very comfortable saying we would like to support a new system for up above.
And then the other question I had, and I don't mean to get into the weeds on this, but in the presentation for the RCDC, it sounds like we'd want the field system to be in place by the fall of next year, or the work would be done the fall of next
Yeah.
year.
Probably, no.
But I don't know about the tree, the trees were going in before
This-
then, I understood, so that was also a concern, that we have something working for the trees.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And so I think, again, timing-wise, y'all remember my extremely aggressive, like,
Yes.
if everything was magical and everything lined up, we're already a month behind. So that only took 1 month to happen. So my guess is most likely, we will not be planting, unless we can plant the trees and get the irrigation system in place by March 1, that would be a tall order.
You
We're
won't do
really
that.
talking about doing the work June 1 and then planting trees next October or
Next
November.
fall.
And,
Okay.
and the feedback from baseball was they'd rather us do it in the fall
Yeah.
than in the spring because they have a lot fewer participants in the fall. So we're really talking about doing this, having this system in place in the fall for tree planting and grass planting.
Okay. And one designer for the
The whole-
entire upper part. maybe
Yeah, for the
lower part.
irrigation system.
Okay,
Mhm.
sounds, I'm
And
good.
soil amendments.
And soil amendments and sod.
Yeah, I'm good.
And again, we may phase it, and I just want to throw this out there, if Western Hills Little League and Girls Softball is listening, we may say, hey, we're going to do the sod for 3, 4, and 5, because that's a multi-use area, and maybe we'd ask for donations from Western Hills Little League and Girls Softball for fields 1 and 2. Or at least help us fundraise for it. Cool.
Thank you. Sounds good. Sounds
Thank
very
you.
good.
Appreciate all y'all's work on it.
Thank you.
I love being here for 10 minutes.
Me too. All right, thank you. Any further action items? Okay, hearing none, moving on to agenda item number 12. Discussion and possible action on paving projects and possible inclusion of striping and rumble strips for improved streets. Recognize Mr. Glasheen for his agenda item, and then Alan and I have a couple of small updates for you that we can squeeze into this.
Great. Just briefly, I've raised the question of striping when we do the street resurfacing and street work, maintenance work that's being planned. And I know the engineer's reaction was striping. So I know that it was the beginning of the process of planning all that project, but I just want to make sure it was included in the thought process. And then the other suggestion is that I really like these stripes that we put on the side streets that previous councils had done. And it's been, somebody has suggested that if they're going to be working on the pavement, that if they could groove it or rumble it, like you see on a lot of streets where those fog lines, when you get on them, it rumbles a little bit. I don't know how technologically difficult or expensive that is, but I think it's something we should inquire about when they do the paving and striping.
I agree, and we will inquire on that. And Alan, do you want to give a little bit of an update on where we are on the pavement project generally?
On the pavement project, I have been working with WSB engineers, and by the end of this week, we should be able to have the bid package ready. Our plan is to send the advertisement over to the newspaper the week of, actually next week, the week of October the 20th. We have a tentative timeline in here. There's always a lot of asterisks, a lot of caveats after that, but tentatively by the middle of December, we should be able to have our contractor hitting the ground as long as we have reasonable bids come in. But we're going to start advertising the bid packet next week, assuming there's no significant changes we need for it. And then we're going to hit the ground running with a non-mandatory pre-bid. November the 6th, it'll be held virtually. We'll be publicizing all of these things here. And our plan is to have the bid tabulation and the letter of recommendation to us from the WSB engineers November the 12th in advance of the council meeting on the 19th, so the council can review that. I have already instructed WSB we'd like to have the striping there. I know in a previous city I've worked, we looked at rumble strips, and the concern there, or with the kind of the divoting for those, was that children on scooters with small diameter wheels, when they hit those, they fall off into the line of cars. So you've made it safer for the cars, but potentially more dangerous for the children. Because if they do hit it, they are likely to lose their balance, and because they're already heading in the direction of the travel lane, they're likely to tumble into the path of the car.
Or bicycles, just small.
Right, exactly. Especially nowadays with electric bikes and everything, all the wheels are becoming a lot smaller than the bikes that we all grew up riding. So that's definitely something that maybe there's a way to address that, but I know that was raised as a concern previously.
Interesting. Another thought that I've heard expressed is that on some of these steep hills like Ashworth and on Hatley Drive, there's a steep hill, that it might be a good idea to put a yellow stripe in the middle of the road where you can't see over the hill, so that your oncoming oncoming traffic that's coming from the opposite direction, you'll have a yellow line in the middle of the road between you, and I think it would have a calming effect on the traffic to sort of get their attention.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I
slow
think,
them down.
yeah, and just, yes, I would agree with that, and if we could get together, Chief, on, maybe just come up with a list of where those locations would be.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. That keeps everybody in their lane and
Slow them down.
slow them down.
It's-
I agree.
Yeah, that's a good
I
idea.
noticed it's already in existence on Rollingwood Drive as you're
Right.
cresting that hill.
Yep.
Uh,
Just get us that it'll be a sort of a mixed bag, whether those streets are all covered in this bid, but maybe we can have that done even when they're out.
And we might
Yeah.
want to stripe the whole city, even
Right.
though we're not covering
Correct.
all the
Right.
asphalt.
Mr. I have one other, I've noticed, I know this isn't I've been told this isn't Rollingwood Streets, but if you look at the entrance and exit to the, where Trader Joe's is, there are 3 lanes of traffic if you're exiting from there, and the striping is almost gone, and people get confused. And the striping, if you're entering, it's all gone. You don't know if there's 2 lanes or 3 lanes.
Are you talking about in the actual shopping
on
center?
on the south side,
But in the shopping center?
In the shopping center.
as you enter the shopping center, yes. And you have traffic coming from above and from the left and from the right, all merging into those, and there's no striping. So if we can encourage them to redo their striping, I think it
I
would.
would say, I believe that property is managed by Endeavor, so I can make contact with them and let them know that
Yeah.
they.
Yeah, they're
need
good to
address
work
it.
with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are.
Okay.
And there's a lot more traffic there too
I-
these
A lot
days.
more traffic.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, council. Thank you, chief. Yeah, and we were, again, thank you, council, for giving authority for me to move forward with that RFP, but I was a little bit overly ambitious, and it took longer than to do it correctly, so.
Are there issues with temperature for when pavement is applied? I thought that was something that we, in the past, were not doing it in the dead of winter because it was too cold.
I don't know the answer to that question. Do you know?
Yes, there's certain degrees, and I believe it's you can't go underneath 68 degrees ambient temperature. But I think we should be okay moving towards November, where we should be fine. We've paid before in that weather, but I can come back and give you the exact.
Well,
The
if
fact
we-
that you're aware of it impresses
Yeah.
me.
If we
so.
don't get the bids until the middle of November, they're not paving in November.
We're gonna have a move pretty quick. Well, because we still think we can catch AO, and that's still we
Okay.
still believe that we're gonna be able to
Well, I
catch
mean,
AO.
it's still 90 degrees out now, it's
Yeah.
October, so
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
may not be a problem.
Yeah.
I was just wanting to make sure we kept that in
Yeah, we just
mind.
can't. That temperature just can't drop rapidly because it's got to keep warm. It's a hot mix, so we should be fine.
Yeah, the construction will be overseen by WSB. They'll be monitoring it as well, so they'll have qualified engineer checking in and make sure we're doing it properly.
Yes. Yeah, and I did utilize your authority to move forward with WSB to get them going on the RFP. So it was not for naught. Okay, thank you all. Moving off of agenda item number 12, we'll move on to agenda item number 13. Discussion and possible action on the addition of roadway marking and signage at the intersection of Rollingwood Drive and Mopac Service Road. I think this is the agenda item that you get when our council members go to ACL.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Was that mine or Phil's?
Yeah, it was yours.
Okay, so, yeah, because Phil and I have been talking about it for a while, and really for years, I mean, I come into the neighborhood that way on Rollingwood Drive, and I come up to that intersection, and there's 2 lanes, and the left lane turns left, and the right lane goes straight, but sometimes the people in the left lane don't know they're supposed to turn left, and then you're both trying to go into the same lane going straight, and it's really kind of dangerous and stupid because there's no pavement marking and there's no signage. So I realize that's Austin, but I thought if I call Austin and start complaining about it, they will say, and you are, and then I'll be like, a concerned neighboring citizen. But I was gonna see if maybe our chief or whoever's appropriate to reach out to Austin Streets, whoever's in charge of pavement markings, to encourage them to make it safe to get into Rollingwood.
Okay, that sounds good. Chief, opine on that, but also I'll let Alan give a little bit of an update because we've recently participated in a text dot call that I think somewhat relates to this. But go ahead, Chief.
No, I was gonna say I can make contact with City of Austin on our behalf as well.
Yeah, and it all depends on exactly where you're talking about. Sometimes it's Austin, sometimes it's text dot, so.
I think this portion, you're talking about under the bridge, correct?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, it's gonna probably be City of Austin.
Okay.
That's also getting to their park.
You're right.
It's not just getting into
Right,
Rollingwood,
that's
but
true.
I mean, they have a park on that side of the road too, so.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which should be ours by all rights.
If there's, they just repaved all of that, so I don't know. I would assume they're already gonna be out there doing some form of striping, so.
They've never striped it. I mean, it should have a turn arrow on the left
No, I
lane
know.
instead
No,
of a
I'm
stripe.
not talking
and a
about that.
sign.
I'm talking about perhaps maybe they're gonna put a center in between the stuff coming out of Rollingwood Drive
Mm.
and the other while they're at it and have the paint.
Mhm. Yeah,
It'd be great.
it would be.
Okay, got it.
Thank you.
Alan, talk a little bit about, it's not quite the same area, but
I think it pertains to it. I mean, so there's I think two separate things that are relevant to this agenda item. We did have, I did sit in on a virtual meeting that included Austin City Councilmember Ellis and a few people from TxDOT, and we discussed that path of Rollingwood Drive under MOPAC. And there were some concerns raised there, and I believe exactly the same concerns that Councilmember Glasheen just raised. I've been through there before, and I expressed my concern. I walked from Rollingwood over to Blues on the Green, and you kind of stand there on the MOPAC frontage road, and you wonder, how much longer shall I wait before I just run for it? And so, as a grown man, I waited a bit longer than I might have as a teenager. But it definitely crossed my mind. It's a dangerous area, and you can see the traffic flow just driving through there. The striping, I think, is important. So one of the things that TxDOT is seriously considering as part of the MOPAC rehabilitation is either fully signalizing the intersection at Rollingwood Drive, and then I know it changes names as it goes under MOPAC, but basically Rollingwood the other side of MOPAC as well, either fully signalizing that or adding in just a kind of an on-demand pedestrian crossing light
That'd be great.
for that intersection. So they're very seriously considering at least the pedestrian crossing, but they said that their traffic study may warrant the rest. 'Cause I know there was some concern from, I guess, everybody on there that the rate at which those cars are turning to the southbound MOPAC frontage road off of Barton Springs is not conducive to pulling out of Rollingwood. So they're very seriously looking at that. And then as you go up the hill southbound on MOPAC frontage road from Rollingwood Drive, the signage where it says if you want to go north on MOPAC in the left lane, that it's a little bit misleading because the two lanes turn into 4 or 5. So as it approaches Bee Cave, there's going to be some consideration with that. And possibly as they're reconfiguring MOPAC because of the new express lanes, they're playing with a few different options. They asked that we not really share what the options would be, so an open meeting might not be the best place for it. But there's a few possible options for improving the traffic flow at Bee Cave and MOPAC. They're very well aware of what our concerns are. I sat in with one of our residents, Amy Patillo was there. She's a very good advocate for Rollingwood residents as far as the traffic plans through there. They're not looking terribly in our favor, but we're pushing on it and making sure that when the final plans come out, that we're part of that discussion. They did say that tentatively they're looking for a public hearing date in January, and they give the same number of caveats that I always do. But they assured us that as a governmental entity, we would be notified at least 30 days in advance of any public hearing so that we could weigh in on that.
and when we do have something, we'll share it with the task force and try to get community comment on whatever it is that they're going to come with.
Exactly, because the first stage was that meeting I attended, 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah.
Probably 2 weeks ago now, and they said that's really more of a first introductory meeting to kind of take the temperature of the governmental entities before they go and reach out to other stakeholders like businesses and various residents and that type of thing. So we'll keep on top of that. So it was very interesting, but still very much in the conceptual stages. It doesn't look like it's a project that's ready to hit the ground anytime soon.
I have a quick comment to add, if I
Sure,
may.
go for
Hi,
it.
Christopher Bray, 103 Vale.
Great that you're in person. We don't have to look at you on.
Yeah, I know, exactly. You don't have to
Yeah.
get the mega screen. I just like to build on what Councilmember Glasheen said. I couldn't agree more regarding those two lanes. I mean, it's a common understanding by Rollingwood residents, but I don't think it's clear to everyone. And you can find yourself in that awkward situation where you're dutifully going into the right lane, thinking you're doing the right thing, and then all of a sudden the car next to you is giving you the finger and honking his horn. So providing those markings, I think, is an excellent idea. On top of that, I just wanted to add to that. I think the reason we're seeing so many accidents at that intersection is you've got people coming into Rollingwood not understanding that Barton Springs Road does not have a stop sign. And they'll just sort of, and I've seen close calls before. And I saw that the city of Austin put up little signs that said cross traffic does not stop. I would recommend that when we're talking to the city of Austin, we make that much bigger and more noticeable. A flashing cross traffic does not stop. And the idea to put a pedestrian crossing with lights, I think, is brilliant. My 2 cents.
Thank you.
And we had discussed that the insufficiency of that cross traffic doesn't stop sign, because I think also its location is where the driver is looking around the corner, not off to the right, hopefully around the corner, not off to the right where the sign is placed.
Yeah, I hope they signalize it. That really is dangerous both ways.
Yes, we will continue to make these points to all who will listen. We're a little bit hamstrung on our ability and jurisdiction to do some of these things, but we'll continue to try. Okay, with that, we will move off agenda item number 13 on to agenda item number 14, discussion and possible action on RCDC funding priorities and city council project priorities. Mr. Glasheen?
So what I really just wanted to do here is address the kind of alternatives, priorities that are potentially available to RCDC under the law, and which I basically say they're limited to, I'm going to call it 2 categories. One is capital improvements here in the city, which would be park improvements and things like sidewalks, if we wanted to extend sidewalks down, Rollingwood Drive or Edge Grove, for example, versus what I'm going to call economic development or stimulus, like on the commercial corridor, which I translate to giving money to shopping centers for new, facades, as an example, okay? And I know there's been a lot of discussion on RCDC about trying to come up with some money to stimulate some commercial development, but at the same time, I think we have a lot of capital improvement needs within the city that would be a better use of RCDC funds in the short term. And I will say that RCDC, I believe, has about $900,000 maybe. Where am I wrong? 775. Look at that. He knows the numbers. And brings in 160, 200,000 a year.
150, I think. Around
Yeah, the proposed budget is 200,000.
Okay.
For what we expect. It's 175 this year, but we're looking at actual value closer to 210.
So over the next, year and a half, 2 years, we'll be at $1 million, basically, if they don't spend any of that money, okay? And so, we're talking about $250,000 for these park improvements for parking lots and stuff, which I totally support. And we're talking about $250,000 to make new fields, new ball fields, and new sprinkler system. That's half of that money. But also, as we get into the new city hall that we've got bond money for, to the extent we can use RCDC money to enhance that project, and maybe do some of the external landscaping or whatever we can use it for to enhance that budget, I think that's better than using, money that comes from our property taxes. I'd rather use this RCDC funds, because I'll just, remind, I know you guys all know this, but I'll remind anyone who's listening in the public, is that RCDC money is like my understanding is I think it's a 1/8 cent sales tax, that if we didn't create an RCDC, a Community Development Corporation, and capture that money, it would all revert to the state. So it's just money that we would not get, but we've got this RCDC, and it was created early on with the impetus from Brian Ryder, I'll say his name correctly. And his idea originally was to get a source of funding for the park to make it better, which is great. And I just think that if we're going to go forward, or these commissions and committees are supposed to reflect the will of council. So I wanted to bring it up for discussion, that maybe we make a resolution that says that we would encourage RCDC to consider as a priority for using those funds in the short term over the next couple of years for things like park improvements and other public improvements in the city, like sidewalks, and even contributions towards the City Hall project, as opposed to trying to incentivize new business in the short term.
So to the extent that that's allowed by law, I'm fine with it, but there are statutory restrictions on what you can use those funds for, so it can't just be
Absolutely.
anything.
Absolutely.
But to the extent that that's allowable, that's up to RCDC.
And it's a question of whether council has some funding priorities and wants to make a statement that our priority is that money be spent more on the park and capital improvements within the city, as opposed to economic development on the commercial, corridor through grants, for example.
Well, I'm with you on the priorities. And I think that, and we're, with, for example, Julian Gold, to the extent that these improvements with the park increase property values, which they will, within the city, because it's a desired amenity and one of our best amenities, even with the shape it's in right now. But if we make it a better park, it will improve property values and desirability, which improves and increases property values. And we wouldn't have Julian Gold if it weren't for the income level of the people who live in Rollingwood. And I think we've seen that through our sales tax. I don't know that we can actually identify, we probably can find how much just that one upscale retailer has increased our sales tax in Rollingwood, but I think it would be very sizable. And I think the other one thing I would say is, and this goes along with the commercial comprehensive plan, is that if we can get to the point where we can begin doing some improvement along Edgegrove in walkable or golf cart accessibility to those businesses there, I think that would be a win-win. And so some of that money might be used there. And I think we're gonna, when I look at the City Hall project, in August of 2027, we will have paid off the 2019 tax notes. We're paying about $300,000 a year in debt service for those tax notes, because it's $1.5 million repaid over 8 years. That's more than we're paying for the bonds for the water project and City Hall combined. So we're going to have some room to consider whether we issue an additional bond for the City Hall improvements, and we could do that within the existing tax rate. We can fund the debt service within the existing tax rate at that point. And we wouldn't be spending that money till then anyway, because it's going to take that long to do a design. So I think we're in a pretty good shape that we can, and maybe the resolution would be from the council level capital projects we see on the horizon that we would want to give priority to. And it doesn't have to be necessarily, we'd like you to, I think that would set the right tone for it and the right kind of thing at our level, and hopefully RCDC will say, yeah, we agree with that, and we can solicit their input on it and, do a little bit more project-oriented, what is the word I'm thinking of? Planning, just identify project-level priorities and address it that way, or even more specifically as you propose.
And really, this would just be a more generalist statement of intent, and I just sketched out as we were speaking, because I agree with what you said, and also agree that the later steps would be more specific project planning, even jointly, and some back and forth. And I think having that kind of communication with RCDC is really good. I've encouraged them to have somebody at our meetings from time to time, and I think it's good for us to go to their meetings from time to time. But a resolution just is a not binding on anybody. It's just a statement of our intent and our sort of philosophical direction.
Yeah.
And it would say, resolve that council suggest to RCDC that capital improvements for the city of Rollingwood should be a spending priority rather than for economic development on the commercial corridor. And if we pass that resolution, I think it would be helpful because it gives RCDC some direction instead of, them wanting to fund studies on how to redevelop the Chinatown shopping center. They'd be thinking more about projects within the city of Rollingwood, capital improvements like sidewalks on Edge Grove or Rollingwood, or on the council, the new city building. So that'd be my motion, that we pass that resolution if council supports it.
We need to draft it.
Yeah, you'd have to, we're gonna need to draft that up.
Well,
Yeah.
I just dictated it. Does that not count?
Well,
Yeah.
it's not a resolution.
You want,
I'd like to see the wording.
But I mean, I'm
It's
happy
a-
to, I'm
no,
happy to take guidance to draft said
Right.
resolution.
Yeah, it's a weird law where the courts have said you have to have an actual physical.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Didn't mean to cut you off, but
No,
happy to
no,
happy to
I
have
didn't-
something.
I was unaware of that technicality. Or I would have brought you a scroll on a parchment scroll with calligraphy
Fair enough.
and a seal.
And I think we invite, let's each of us go to our respective liaison committees and say, here's what the council's thinking. What do you think about that?
And I want to express that to RCDC when I go Monday, is that's, I want to tell them that I've proposed that, and, if once our scribe prepares a resolution, that it will be presented, and if council supports it, it will be spread throughout the land. Posted on every corner.
I would, and I don't have it in front of me, so I can't do this, but I do want us to look at the statute and make sure that what we're recommending is within the confines of what's allowed by.
I concur with that. I would also make a public service announcement for Texas Municipal League that I don't think that registration is sold out for Thursday, November 13th, Friday, November the 14th for the TML Economic Development Conference, where your current city attorney actually speaks on this very issue, on how economic development corporations and cities should operate together, get along, and come together on what they want the vision for their community to be. So, go to that too.
Or
Is a resolution a good tool?
A resolution is a good tool, but so is, in my opinion, quarterly meetings between the bodies to ensure the visions, everybody understands where the direction is to go, what the vision for the use of the funds are, so that everybody's on the same page, so that things can roll smoothly down the tracks. And that requires communication, it requires understanding, it requires direction, it requires all of those things.
Can we propose tonight then that we start having those sort of quarterly meetings where we invite somebody from RCDC to come and have a discussion about priorities?
I think he's suggesting that we have joint meetings with RCDC, the city council.
The whole.
And I'm not, I
group?
mean, in the best world, it's a quarter, it's every quarter, but it depends on how busy and, I mean, how, it depends on the community and the use of the funds and how often the funds are used and how busy you are with respect to those types of issues. Maybe annually is fine, maybe twice a year is fine.
And
But
might
certainly
have it-
those communications need to take place at some level, at least annually, in my opinion.
That's a great idea, and we could have it like a half hour before a regular council meeting and
Yeah.
do a joint meeting.
Good.
I think we should have one sometime soon to start talking about those things and improve communications. Is anyone interested in supporting that proposal? That we set up a joint meeting sometime soon.
Second.
And that's a lot better than a resolution because it allows us to have back and forth
Interaction.
discussion and interaction, and they may have some better ideas.
So if you were to make that motion to have a joint meeting to discuss funding priorities and city council project priorities, then that would be an
That's
acceptable
the motion.
You have a motion by Mr. Glasheen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
You have a motion by Mr. Glasheen, a second by Mr. McDuffie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 4 ayes, no nays, motion carries, and we will socialize some, well, we know what the dates are for us, so we'll see if that works for them. So, and invite them to join prior to the next meeting. Okay, moving off of agenda item number 14, we will move on to agenda item number 15, discussion and possible action on Austin City Limits funding, history of payments to Rollingwood, and future negotiation. Mr. Glasheen.
We want more money. Well, I'd, we just the impacts are impressive, and I know that our police department's done a great job dealing with it. I know it's a lot of extra work, a lot of time, and I know that I think we get about, was it 68,000 is the number that's in my head that we get from them.
I think it's
55.
55.
Yes, sir.
And I was just curious how well that covers things. I kind of was curious about, has that been static for a long time? Is it increased over time, like everybody's expenses?
It increased. It has been static for 3
I was
years.
gonna say, I think it was under Mayor Dyson that it was changed.
Increased, yeah.
Correct, and so it's been stagnant for a couple.
And we did, for at least one budget cycle, or maybe two, we tried to really do a good job of keeping up with our expenditures and itemizing all that to see if it was covering or not. I think it gets close.
And we did that this year.
Did we do it again?
Yeah, we've already done that for this one as well, and we've kind of looked at all the salaries and things that we have paid out, and it does cover. And it leaves us about $15,000 is what we're looking at of overage that they pay.
And then how's that number get set? I mean, we don't have any way to compel them to pay that, right? It's a goodwill payment from them. So it's kind of hard to look at them and say, can we have some more, please, sir? Right?
Which is, I believe, how we did it last time.
That's exactly the way it was done last time, because that is correct. I think it was part of their goodwill.
Maybe they could throw in some platinum passes next
They,
year.
they used to do that, but
They did used to do that.
that has its own set of issues. Yes, yes. Just keep going.
And golf cart rides for Rollingwood residents.
I think you may have been the one to say, you do what?
Okay. Well, I was just curious about that and wanted to hear more, so thank you.
Yes,
No
sir.
problem.
All right. With that, we'll move off agenda item number 15 onto agenda item number 16. Discussion and possible action on license plate reading camera vendor alternatives. Recognize Mr. Glasheen for his agenda item.
So there were some folks who there was a lot of concern about privacy, even though I don't agree with the concerns necessarily. I respect that a lot of people have strong feelings about it and appreciate their views on it. And also appreciate everybody's input on it. It's very helpful to hear everyone's thoughts about it, so that's great. One of the suggestions that came out of those discussions about privacy was, well, what if we limited the operation of the cameras to certain hours, like from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m., and so that it wouldn't impact most people on a privacy basis and would more target the problem, which is these people coming in at 3 a.m. in stolen vehicles vehicle burglary. And so I asked ChatGPT which license plate camera reader companies have time programmable cameras that would limit their data capture to certain hours, and it gave me a bunch of answers that was actually pretty impressive. And then even drafted a proposed questionnaire to send out to the companies to answer questions about programmability and data privacy, and then even drafted a proposed RFP, I guess is the right breathe, for the cameras themselves. So I just want to bring that back up as an issue because it's a different angle on this thing that might address some people's privacy concerns. So I brought it up for discussion. And if the council is interested in hearing more about it, then what I'd like to do as an action item from here is ask the chief or whoever we could get to do a little more research, gather information, and make a recommendation about which one of these companies would be appropriate to use given all the various considerations that have been voiced by so many different people.
Chief, and I did see that Hayes County, I think,
Discontinued.
just discontinued theirs yesterday or today.
That is, and that's why, I mean, I want to come and say, I think it's, at this time, I think it's appropriate that we kind of vacate the flock direction. And I know like I said, we've had concerns as far as their contract and everything as well. So like I said, that's what I'm proposing is that, like I said, we kind of vacate that route. But I am open to looking into ones that are specific for certain times. I know you had also mentioned ones that don't or that are not actually have it like a database style, but more of where we can. Problem that we have is accessibility and making sure that it's running all the time and like how do we monitor that. So I'm looking forward to looking into these situations.
And live reports on stolen vehicles entering the neighborhood to me is one of the bigger deals because it gives you a chance to catch those vehicle burglars.
Correct. That's correct. And so, with a lot of them, I mean, we aren't going to get any live feedback. But like I said, looking into these, I think if you're wanting it just for specific time, and I guess I would just need to know, like, is this something, are there certain time periods? Is it 1 a.m. to 5 a.m., 7 days a week? How do you want it powered? Where do you want them? Do you want them in residential? Do you want them on where? Just a little bit of direction on.
We talked about those entrances and exits, and I think we identified 7.
Correct.
Yes.
And I would say that's where they would go. And, however Flock was proposing to power those, it would be the same sort of locations. It would just be a different company that doesn't have the contract concerns and would be programmable to limit the hours to address privacy concerns. And I don't know if that adequately addresses privacy concerns for everybody or whether it would adequately address privacy concerns for the big majority of the public. Obviously we're not going to satisfy everybody, and I know some people have very strong views on privacy that, may not be interested in having their license plate read even at 3 a.m. or maybe especially not at 3 a.m. I don't know. But I just wanted to bring it up as an alternative path.
Well, just recently, for instance, with the accident that you're aware of, and then I became aware also of car theft. I'm not sure if we're going to have the cameras, limiting them to certain hours rather, I just don't see a lot of validity
Make sure
in
you
that.
come in before or after this time period.
Right. Like I personally would, if we can restrict the data and have a level of assurance that it's going to be secure. I don't want to have a window of time only that cameras are available, because I do think, for instance, again, when there was another incident where children were being harassed or something like that, I just think it's
road rage deal.
Yeah, the road rage deal. I think it's useful to have those tools as an option available to our police to camera, and if we're gonna have them, I would have them 24/7.
All right, do you want to do some research?
So that's the thing, is I just need to know kind of what direction are we looking at, just alternative, like camera alternatives? That way, because this was originally brought to you as a response to what can we do better for regarding burglaries and theft of vehicles and things like that. And I mean, as y'all know, we can't be everywhere and see everything, and so that's why we brought in the camera idea to provide us some additional assistance.
I would like to stop you right there, though, and commend your department, because I believe you did
We were.
interrupt a burglary at 3 a.m.
Yeah,
or
We
4
did,
a.m. the other
we
day.
did.
So,
Good
We
job.
did. Yes, thank you. So I'd like to, vocally say I appreciate, like, our officers have really been, they've been working very hard at night to make sure they're moving around. I know it was about a month ago, there was a car that was rummaged through, and he's like, and we just saw y'all pass by 30 minutes prior on our camera, so they're moving and they're out. But luckily this weekend, we came upon it just in time, so.
You catch him?
Unfortunately, we did not. They did evade. We do have a license plate. That license plate did come back stolen out of Westlake Hills.
Right. And
So,
to that regard, like, because it was a stolen vehicle that they were using to try to steal additional vehicles, that's perfect case in point that might have been identified when they came in.
Real
with
time.
stolen
although it was
real
stolen
time.
the same night, wasn't it?
it was.
Yeah.
It was stolen the same night.
Yeah, well, in
So-
that case. But if they came from Westlake Hills, they had to come into Rollingwood. If we'd had it at our
Might have been
intersection,
reported
it might have been
otherwise.
reported. Yeah,
Right.
Anyway.
So, but no, I do, like I said, the officers are working hard. We're just trying to figure out how else we can assist them out there, so.
All right, we'll do some research and come back and give us some other alternative ideas, and I'll recognize Mr. Bray.
Thank you again. Well, first of all, I want to commend the police force. You guys do a phenomenal job. It's one of the reasons I live here. Rollingwood does have a reputation of being extremely secure. I appreciate the thinking that's gone into this around maybe restricting the times, but I don't think that really adequately addresses the issue at hand around privacy. I think we all agree that Flock is sort of the poster child for privacy abuse. I mean, the value proposition is some municipality or some agency on this side of the country can read our license plate data, and we can do the same. I think the fundamental issue that we need to look at here is how is the data secured and who has access to it?
Yeah.
And when we're talking about RFPs, look, the feature about between 1 and 5, that's all well and good. I agree with Councilmember McDuffie. If we're going to have cameras, which, by the way, personally, I'm very uncomfortable with, I think, as you all know, but if we're going to have cameras, then we might as well run them 24/7, right? But if we're going to put out an RFP or an RFQ, we should say, well, how do you secure the data, right? And how do you limit who has access to it? And out of my personal experience in security, the most secure system is something that is not in the cloud, that is not connected to the internet. It is a closed system. And some of the things that you found, Councilmember Glasheen, from our friend ChatGPT, they do offer on-prem solutions. So that is encouraging. But I urge the council to really, really think about how do we make sure, if we're going to go down this path, this data is protected and it's really clearly defined who has access to it and when, and how long is that data kept. That's the third point that's absolutely critical. You don't want to have a policy that says we retain your movements in Rollingwood for the next 10 years.
Agreed.
That's creepy.
Agreed.
It's downright creepy, right? And then, I think there are use cases, as you illustrated, but I think we also need to think about what problem are we really trying to solve as the city? Do we want to be a stolen car recovery service for other municipalities? That's a nice to have, but you guys have enough work to do, right? What we want to do is prevent crime. And no matter how you slice it, a camera solution is reactive. And it's not always going to help you stitch things things together. You get a smash and grab in one end of the neighborhood, you look at the cameras and you see, okay, 15 cars have come through Rollingwood when that smash and grab happened. But you've got nothing to stitch the two together. You don't have enough probable cause to go look up all of those addresses and go to each one of those people's homes and go, was that you? Right? So how much utility do the cameras really bring? That's something I think we also need to think about.
You know, I think one way you stitch it together is with a home security camera that sees the vehicle but wasn't able to read the license plate. So you can correlate those. And another way that it stitches it together and it makes it less reactive and more of a real-time tool is this stolen car alert. And that to me is a big deal because exactly what happened, and I realize if it was just stolen, it may not be in the system, but you know, these things, I don't know how fast they get in the system, but I love the idea of a stolen car alert, not just so we can recover stolen cars for every municipality because we don't need to go chasing down every stolen car that comes through here. It might be kind of fun if you're bored, but I'm not sure it's necessary or desirable for us to be doing. But if a stolen car comes in, I'm concerned that that's carrying people who are on a vehicle burglary mission or a mission to steal more cars, as I think Councilman McDuffie said. And the problem I'm trying to prevent, what I'm concerned about, is a homeowner who interrupts somebody committing a car burglary and somebody gets shot.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you that given enough time, that's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? With the rate of vehicle burglaries we have and the rate of gun ownership and the fact that these are professional criminal gangsters who are doing this, not just kids, and the fact that a lot of vehicles have guns in them, and the fact that a lot of homeowners have guns, you know, I'm very well armed. What am I going to do when my car alarm or my motion detector goes off and I look at the window and I see somebody burglarizing my car? Am I going to go out there with my, 410 Judge with my laser sight and Surefire light on it? Yes. Okay?
Well, I know for a
Now,
fact.
do I want to kill somebody? No, I don't. That's one of my goals in life, is to not have to kill anybody. And I don't want to get killed either, but I'm also don't want to be a victim, and I'm not going to watch somebody, burglarize my property.
I don't disagree with you one bit. I mean, we all have the constitutional right to defend our home and our
But
property.
I don't want to have to.
But my point being is, one of the many reasons I live in this neighborhood is I know that I can call 911 and have your team at my front door faster than I can open my safe.
I've got mine magnet mounted, so I don't have to open a safe, so I'll be on it.
I do think
I'm big on gun safety.
I do think you made a good point, and one, and everybody know I've long been opposed to cameras. However, I mean, on my downtown property, I have cameras and I have a closed system, and I maintain that data in my office building, and I think it's a 2-week. I think I save it for 2 weeks, and I've used it on several occasions to help the county because I'm next to a county building that gets vandalized a lot. So, I think maybe something along in your research on alternative ideas, look at ideas. I think my system is a FLIR system. I don't know if those have downloads where they can, I don't know how the data's kept, but they may have some off-site installations where.
We also just had a hit and run too, which that they could have said it's a black truck, but we didn't get a license plate because they hit their lights and fled. Well, if we'd had the license plate, that would have been helpful.
Well, we actually did get the license plate from the vehicle.
Well, that was, I'm not talking about the burglary one, I'm talking about a different hit
I mean,
and run.
in my mind, if council is going to go down this road, to the extent that we can control the data, house the data, have the data secured on our own servers, on a Univista type system that we have here. I mean, you go through these things. I mean, you can't just be on any server with your. I mean, the CGIS. Thank you. I was trying to remember the thing that we're certified under, but I mean, I think something. If council's gonna go down this road, something that's that type of security that we control and council controls the usage of the data and how the data's kept and how long the data's kept, and they do that by ordinance, and it's all here, like, in my mind, if you're gonna go down that road, that's the best way to go down it.
And I liked your suggestions on the RFPs for those sorts of questions, how the data is stored, and also I'd ask for the proposed contract. Because the contract terms that were offered by Flock were awful, and Councilmember Brown found a lot of problems with it. There were legitimate concerns, so we should get proposed
And I
contracts.
think that's something that will continue and like have Councilwoman Brown also kind of oversee some of that contract if you want to continue that route.
We'll
Yes,
get you
please
on
do.
it too.
Yeah.
Happy to.
And there may be other, and I guess my point is, there may be other I don't have a contract with FLIR.
Well, that's what
I
I was
own,
gonna say.
I
I
own
think
the
a
equipment,
probably
and
don't.
it is housed
Yeah.
in my,
In your data
in-
is, you own it.
I own it,
You-
yeah,
And you house it.
you're right.
That's.
And I'll also say, again, I'm not pushing FLIR, but I just happen to be familiar with them. Like, I can look at my office, I can look at all 3 floors of my office and outside right now from my phone, and that may be something that would be useful in real time to the department. If you're needing to see which direction to go or what's, there may be some app-based applications that you could use to help your nighttime patrol officers know when someone's coming into the neighborhood, because they're stationary, but they're looking at, they can monitor all 7
Right.
locations at 3 in the morning, and at 3 in the morning in this neighborhood, they're not monitoring much. So,
No, it should be. When I was looking through Kevin's proposal, which, the vendor questionnaire, I jotted down some questions about where's the data kept, how's it kept,
Okay.
who has access, all of that I'll get to you.
I was gonna say, at the senior coffee on Friday morning, Alan and I talked to a woman from Tremont.
From where?
Tremont, so, which is part of Rollingwood.
Yes.
it is.
They're
know,
gated,
pocket-
they're gated, aren't they?
They are gated
They are
over there,
gated.
but they are also right outside of their gate is Eagle Eye Security, and she said there are cameras all over the place over there,
Mm-hmm.
and that they have cameras now on their gate into Tremont, and everybody in the neighborhood was wildly supportive of having the cameras put in because they had some people get in and was it burglary or
I think it was petty vandalism, but
They had-
it
yeah,
sounds
they
like it's the most secure place I've ever heard of.
Yeah,
Is that right next door to a place that has so much security as well?
right. But anyway, she said they have cameras over there, and that their cameras, a lot of the cameras are part of their business, and that's where they test them out. So
They do a lot of testing out there.
they have a lot of, maybe more than they
Who's
would
the
normally
company?
have.
What's the
It
company
was
name again?
Eagle Eye. I just looked them up online. I don't remember what the full
Yeah, Eagle Eye Security sounds right.
something along that, but it's in Rollingwood.
But something
So-
in Rollingwood is certainly something that I think the chief could.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
anyway,
no,
you
we've
might wanna
been contacted by them before
might
when they're
wanna
doing tests.
check with them, see what they offer.
If we can own it and we can get it into your cars on the street.
Yeah, that's what,
And that's the only place
kind of
it
where I was
goes.
going is I'm wondering if there's a way that we can actually put it on our MDCs.
In
That
your-
way you can monitor it at all times
That's-
as well.
Yeah, here's the alley in my office. So, and it's not FLIR actually. I misspoke. It's Lorex.
So, I thought FLIR was
FLIR's a generic term for forward-looking infrared.
the gas,
Oh,
yeah, the
see.
gas
My bad.
sensors.
So
Something
I got
like
my
that.
FLIR, right here to find my dog when she chases
Gotcha.
deer at night. That's what that's for. Or to see what they're barking at in the creek, 'cause if I'm just curious if it's a coyote or a fox
So you don't get attacked.
or a person.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chief.
Yep, no problem.
All right. Hearing no further action on agenda item number 16, we'll move on to agenda item number 17. Discussion, update, and possible action on new city hall planning, budget, funding, and scope of project. I will recognize Mr. Glasheen, and then I will mea culpa it, so go ahead.
Don't laugh too much. I'm just nagging you.
As is your right, and I will take credit.
You've been
or blame.
nagged.
Yes.
We'll talk about it next month.
No, that's fine. I will, two things on this, and I actually changed your posting to also include possible action. I have reached out to Duke, and I'm going to circle back with him and work on a document that I've talked to you about that I want to start with Duke. I've got some thoughts. He and I are we've talked about it already previously. I'm going to get with him, and then I'm going to kind of have him share that with the different task force members, or whatever we call that, blue ribbon. I forgot what we called it, but that group, Phil being one of them, to try to get a document in front of you guys. The reason I posted it for action, though, what I would like to do, I've spent, Alan and I have both spent a number of meetings now over at the new City Hall at Westlake Hills. I would like to request action from council, if you are so inclined to. I would like to reach out to the mayor, who's been great and helpful to us on a number of items recently. I'd like to do, and we'll post for this, and other people can come if they so desire, but I'd like to post a meeting, a work group meeting, a work session, for us to just go kind of look and see. I know some people have been there, well, we've been there, but I haven't spent really time and kind of looking in all of their rooms and offices, and kind of seeing some of the design features that they put into that in terms of utilities and some of those sorts of issues. I'd like us to go do that as a council, and we'll invite the task force as well to go with us. It may be informative, and I think we can sort of use some of their experiences too to inform us as to what worked, what didn't work, now that they've been in it for a few months, what would you do differently? We've all built a home, or I know some of us have built homes, and you move in and you think, man, I wish I would have done X. And so I think they would be nice enough to share some of those experiences with us, and I think it'd be informative to council as we move forward. So if that's, and I don't really, I guess, need a motion for it, but if you all give me a thumbs up, we'll plan on trying to do that, and we'll post a work session meeting for that.
Sounds
Great
good.
idea.
Does that work?
Sounds great.
At least 3 of us have been there, right?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry?
I said at least 3 of us have been there for
Yeah.
their open house, so.
Yeah, it's nice. We'll try to piggyback that off of an existing meeting. If we do this with RCDC, I don't know, maybe we invite RCDC to go with us too. I don't know. My thought would be try to do something over there. I don't want to be in their way while they're still in work hours, but something probably around 5 or 5:15 type thing, and so we can still talk to some of their personnel that are still there. But if that works for you all, we'll do that. Okay. That will force me to deliver on what I've told you I'll deliver on. So.
Sounds great.
Okay, great. Anything else, council? With that, I'm happy to take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
You have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Being 4 ayes, no nays, motion